G'day watchers, welcome back to Perth WAtch. Today's topic is the result of a poll I put out recently of 4 watches, and after the various responses on the socials there was no doubt which watch you guys wanted to see review first. So today's topic is the Rolex Submariner Hulk. If you're like me and you wanted to get your hands on this watch, well, you can't just walk into a dealer and pick this up. You have to go on a wait list, and in many places that's actually considerably longer than a year. That's assuming if the dealer will put you on in the first place, which many will not unless you already have an existing buying relationship. So if you can't get your hands on one, what can you do? Well, you may settle for an Homage instead. And I came across this particular watch, which is one such homage to the Hulk. And I just checked right now, it's still selling for $75. And for what you get for that $75, it's pretty darn astounding. So let's flip the camera around and take a closer look at this guy. Okay, so here we are. Here is the packaging, the typical black Pagani design with gilt lettering that you get these days. Microfiber cloth, watch in there, little links that I took out at the bottom, and their typical warranty card and manuals as if the warranty card is going to work. Anyway, who cares about the box? Let's just get the watch out for you guys to see. Okay, so guys, what we have here is the Pagani Design Submariner Homage. This is the PD 1639 model in my hand here, courtesy of Pagani Design, who provided this watch. So let's just talk about the movement first up. The movement in here this time, better than previous Pagani Design that I have reviewed. It is actually a Seiko. It is the good old NH35A. You guys have seen me talk about the specs of this movement many a time, so I'm not going to call it out, just the details over on the left of screen there. Rated accuracy -20 to +40 is the usual. This one is running slightly slow at the minus side, so -7 seconds per day over the week that I've had this, and that's okay. I probably will open this and regulate it sometime later if I keep it, but it is within specs there. The quick set date in this case is in the Rolex position. You can see there at the 3 o'clock with that Cyclops magnifier, which I gotta say is pretty darn good. It actually does look like it does 2.5 times, and it's black writing on the white disc. Of course, they're not going to give you a color match date wheel at this price range. Okay, so that's the movement. Now, the case itself, let's just talk about it. Other people have said this is 316L steel. Pagani Design don't put that on their listing, and so there's no way for me to absolutely confirm that, but numerous other people have said this is 316L steel. If you know for sure how to find that out, let me know and I would take your advice on board. So 42mm is the diameter of this case here. The thickness is the classic 13mm thick, and the lug width in this case is unfortunately a little bit odd. It's actually the 21mm lug width here. Lug to lug distance is pretty substantial at 52mm there. Adjusted weight with a few links removed, 154 grams. If you have every link in there, it's actually just slightly more than 160 grams. Okay, finishing wise, long and short brushing at the top. This is a classic Submariner style case with polished on the sides. It does transition to circular brushing on the bottom of the case there, right underneath the lugs. The case back, of course, is actually mainly polished that you can see there. Okay, the bezel itself has a polished top surface, transitioning onto more of a matte or brush side there. You saw the case back here, so that is a screw down display case back, and look at that movement, right? It's what is really purely an Bosch NH35A, no frills, no decorations whatsoever. It does also have a screw-in crown, and I just want to show you that this crown is pretty good, right? It's got that, you can see that black rubber gasket there around the side there. So with that screw-in crown, they've actually gone for 100-meter water rating now. You can see that on the dial there, which is very pleasing because other Pagani Design that I've had, even though they have had a screw-in crown and case back, they kind of had that 30-meter, which is odd. So I'm glad that they put in better quality seals there to achieve 100-meter water rating this time round. Okay, so let's just move on to the dial, where I guess a lot of the attraction of this watches. So this is none other than a sunburst Hulk green dial, right? This is what this is, homaging the Rolex Submariner Hulk. It does have printed words and a chapter ring. There's no applied branding here, but it does have applied indices all the way around the face there, apart from the date window where it's missing that 3. And the handset is, of course, polished Mercedes style hands with lume on the usual spots, including the lollipop on the seconds hand. The lume is pretty poor. This is possibly the worst lume I have ever seen on the watch, and yes, it is even worse than Tridnite. There you go, I found a watch that is worse than Tridnite. And of course, I'll put a lume shot for you guys to see how it looks like in the dark. Here, it does not last more than about an hour or 2, definitely not all the way through the night. Okay, on top of this is a 90 click bezel, so it's not 120, it's not 60, it's actually 90 click. It's got a gloss ceramic insert, which is impressive that they've put in a ceramic insert. It's actually not badly finished at all. There is some imperfection at that top triangle, but all the way else around is actually not bad. Let's just hear how it sounds like. 10. Okay, so that's 15 clicks there. So it's 90 clicks here, not 120 clicks on the bezel here. On top of the dial, amazingly, they have given a sapphire crystal. So yeah, this is true sapphire, not mineral glass that they have sometimes misled some of these Chinese brands. I've actually tested it with my diamond tester. Definite sapphire with a pretty good Cyclops date. As I mentioned, it really does look like it does a proper 2.5 times there. All right, moving on to the bracelets. The bracelet is oyster style. Okay, that's really what it is. It is brushed all the way on the top. There's no polish element at the top here. It does have kind of a 3-piece per link there with polished on the sides, and also incredibly screw link adjustment with solid end links. It's just incredible how much they've managed to fit into this particular watch. The clasp itself is semi-solid, so those arms are actually not too bad. The clasp body itself, not too shabby. It could be pressed metal, but the keeper right over here is definitely more of a pressed metal. But look at how they've constructed this. Of course, this is inspired by Rolex. It does have that lever release there, and in here there's also what is a kind of a 5mm quick release. For warmer days, you might want to release that. It does have micro adjustment with that little hole there where the tip of my thumb is, so it's pretty fiddly to get in there with that 3-point micro adjust if you wanted to do that. I probably prefer just to try to size it without using that, because it's a bit fiddly, and this one is a bit of a tough one to push back in. You kind of have to give it a good push, that loud click there to click that back in. Okay, so that's really what it has in terms of all that in the bracelet. Let's just put it on now, snap it on quickly for the wrist shot. So there we go. The Pagani Design PD 1639 on my 17cm wrist. Remember that lug to lug 52 is actually definitely on the large side, and probably ostensibly a bit borderline for me. I don't mind still sporting this around, particularly when casual, but probably a little bit too large for formal situations, I think. Okay, so what do I like about this watch? What do I think are the pros of this watch? Look, I think it's an unbelievable package. I think thus far this is unsurpassed value. $75, overall pretty well executed, good looks. Yes, of course, it's just taken it from Rolex, but they've executed it pretty fairly for $75. It's got that Seiko movement. It's got sapphire crystal at the front, ceramic bezel insert, the solid bracelet with the end links and screw adjustment, and they've thrown in a 100-meter water resistant this time. Just astounding how much they have put in. Can the Chinese possibly push the value proposition boundaries any further? Are we going to see $20 watches with ceramic with sapphire? That's the gauntlet that Pagani Design have thrown down with this watch, I think. Now, what are the weaknesses? Of course, there are going to be weaknesses here, right? I've already mentioned part of this. The lume is possibly the worst I have ever seen, and yes, incredibly worse than Invicta Tridnite. The bezel, right, does have back play, right? You can see that there. It does have a relatively tinny feel to it, so not the best bezel, and 90 clicks possibly is the worst combination between 60 and 120 because you can't actually hit all the minute markers, and many viewers have mentioned they'd rather 60 or 120 rather than 90, but they've gone for 90 here. Dimension wise, 42mm upsize on the Submariner size may not be preferable for everyone. In fact, they've kind of proportionally increased everything, including the lug width being 21mm. That's just odd, right? It doesn't let you fit in a NATO strap very easily, right? Not many NATOs come in 21. And the 52mm length can be awkward for some people, including myself. Lastly, I'll say ultimately it is, of course, another Submariner homage. If you don't like homage watches, particularly the Submariner, which is the most frequently homaged watch, then of course this will not be for you. Okay, that's all my comments about this watch. Let's just turn it around for the wrap up now. So there you go guys, my review of the Pagani Design 1639 in green color. Really quite an incredible and astounding piece for what you have to pay. Yes, it's got some weaknesses and gripes which I described, but for that $75, I can't really expect much more, can I? So guys, let me know what you think in the comments below, particularly if you have any experiences with Pagani Design, any of their watches or this particular watch. Would love to hear what you think. Guys, if you enjoy my videos, do consider subscribing. I put out new content weekly, always aiming to be objective and unbiased about all things horology. Thank you again for sticking with me, and as always, I'll catch you guys next time.